Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another Creative Zone webinar in collaboration with the Dubai Business Women Council under the She Leads initiative. That is an initiative to empower and accelerate 100 women entrepreneurs. And we have also opened this up to other people in our network, Creative Zone clients, partners, etc. Today, we have the immense pleasure of having with us Reg Atwal to give this fourth session of our workshop webinars. Reg is the founder and chairman and managing director of RTS Global Partners and the Athwal Family Business Academy. He specializes on advisory, education, technology, and investments. Reg, it's a real pleasure to be here with you today. Thank you so much for doing this for us.
Thank you very much.
Maybe just to get started, if you give us a little introduction about your background, your experience, you being in Dubai and so on, so that people can understand a little bit more of who you are.
Yeah, I mean, I'll keep it brief and maybe integrate it with the small presentation that I've got for everybody. And then maybe from there, I'm sure, Lorenzo, you'll come in and ask me further questions. And I'm sure your team are also looking at the chat. First of all, I want to congratulate you and Creative Zone Group with this initiative, which She Leads Accelerator Program. And I think many other government bodies that I've seen on various marketing on LinkedIn and other websites. So congratulations to all of you coming together and creating such a program. I think it's fantastic to be able to support over 100 women with such a program, accelerating their businesses, various awards and other things that are going to be offered. And more importantly, connecting with experts like us and others, I believe, who've already done some programs and adding value not only to the participants of the accelerator program, but also with these webinars. So congratulations, Lorenzo. Thank you. It's a great initiative, and hopefully more will come in the future. So quick background, I'll keep it brief. I have various hats that I use with my DNA, as I'm going to be talking about today, unleashing your DNA, coming from a background in human capital management, HR, psychology, integrated it with working with entrepreneurs and family businesses 19 years ago. I'm also a professional speaker, so that's another hat that I've had, past president of the Professionals Speakers Association in the UK. I publish books, I train regularly, I have an academy, I have a family office, I'm married, I have 4 children, supported all of my kids in becoming entrepreneurs in their own right as well, apart from one who's just gone to university. So yeah, I hope that helps, just as a quick intro, and the rest I'm sure will come out from the presentation.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, let's get down to it. I know that you have a few good slides to share.
Yeah, I've got a couple of slides there, and maybe we could use this as a, just a way of setting the stage, and hopefully everybody can pick up a few ideas. You can reach out to Creative Zone afterwards to get a summary deck. But let's get started. I think with the journey that I've been through, working with many entrepreneurs and family businesses, the first thing is, why do so many SMEs, especially founding businesses where the founder has started the business, or co-founders, what I refer to as a first generation, as you can see there on the left-hand side, people who put blood, sweat, and tears into getting this off the ground and building it, and yet many fail. Many fail. Very few will get to that second generation. Maybe they want to create a legacy, hand down to their children, and eventually third generation. Unfortunately, a lot of people fail miserably, and to fourth generation and beyond, only 90 or 97% fail, and only 3% eventually build what I call a 100-year legacy. Now, that's another topic when I talk about building legacies today, is very much on one particular area that we get wrong. So if you look at the list on the right-hand side, you'll see 8 reasons based on my own research over the last 10 years of why so many SMEs fail. And you can see there the list. You can read all the list yourself there. I won't go through all of them, but the main focus today is the one right at the top. The reason why we fail is we don't have the right team. We've got the wrong team. Or as an entrepreneur, we're playing to our weaknesses and not our strengths. And we could end up getting this business up and running. We could be doing really well, but then we can also equally sabotage the business as well very quickly. I know, because I did that in my early 20s. I set up my first company when I was 17 years of age. Unfortunately, by the time I was 21, I was facing bankruptcy and wondering what's happened. And yet I had this fast train, this company that was growing so quickly. And I realized very quickly in those days that I wasn't good with finances. And I wasn't good at managing lots of supplier type relationships. These were two genuine weaknesses that I had. And instead of hiring someone to be my number two, I made the fatal mistake of trying to do it all on my own, which had a huge impact on my business. I learned from that, and I'm glad I built my next successful venture a few years after that. So it's all about having the dream team, as I call it, okay? If you look at the other things, they're out of cash, linked to rising costs. Are we spending too much in the wrong areas, maybe not keeping it lean? I'm a firm believer in making sure you bootstrap the business. If I take my second eldest son, one of four of our next generation, we gave him $5,000 just about 2 years ago to incubate his business. And that was it. That was enough to bootstrap the business and get it up and running, because when you don't have a lot of money, you've got to be creative. So once cash flow starts to come in, if we spend that money in the wrong areas, it can have a negative impact. And the rest you can see this. I just wanted to set the stage with the number one area, which is wrong team. And one thing that I've been speaking about, practicing, helping tens of thousands of businesses and entrepreneurs go through the last 19 years is this concept of DNA profiling. It's our own intellectual property. It's something that we created off the back of our own research almost 20 years ago to understand the difference between, if you've got two people that come across very similar with their personality, could they have different talents on the inside? That is the question I wanted to get an answer to. Because I'd come across many psychometric tests, very good ones, Myers-Briggs, Belbin, SHL, but there's many DISC, many good psychometric tests, but having gone through some of those a few times and changing some of the responses or being aspirational rather than who I really was, had an impact on the output of those profiles or psychometric tests. And then I had the realization from creating behavioral questions and interviewing many executives that you can have similar personalities on the outside, but on the inside, you can have completely different talents. So this profiling I'm going to share with you today is very much based on your inner talents. It's based on business context of building a great company. And it's not about other areas to do with personality. That's a separate thing. And you could add Belbin and DISC and many other things to what I'm going to share with you right now. So there's no such thing as a dream individual. Every billionaire, multi-millionaire, and family business owners that I've met and personally worked with, some of these people you may meet and go, how did he or she build a 30 million, 50 million, $100 million business? How did they do that? And here you are, some of you listening to this who are either self-employed or you've just started your business, some of you on the accelerator program right now, wishing to start your own business, which is great. So when you're starting off and you're thinking, how can I build a business and get it to that level? One rule, okay? One rule that links in with everything that I'm discussing today is build a dream team. You can't do it on your own. So the principles of this model is based on 9 profiles that I'm going to share with you. In fact, once you start blending them together, there's actually 72 different sequences to the model. To go through a proper profiling exercise, it takes about 1 to 2 hours, depending on how senior you are, your age, how much life experiences you've had, and going through behavioral questions, looking at your past, as well as going through different situational questions and scenarios to understand exactly where you are on the profile. Now, what are the benefits? If you want to get more information as well, this is one of our published books. It applies to entrepreneurs as well as family businesses. We've published a lot of this work in this book, okay? You can grab it from Amazon, or for those of you in Dubai, from the local bookshop in Dubai Mall. But very briefly, what are the benefits of going through profiling, whether it's my tool or whether it's someone else's tool? Knowing your strengths, okay? Research was done many years ago by the Gallup organization in America. Millions of people were assessed. And they realized once you know what you're weak at, what do typical businesses do? They think, okay, if you're weak in that area, let me go on a training program and I need to get better in that area. But the reality is the research showed them, and I went through the same research myself 20 years ago, that if you start focusing on those weaknesses, you can develop them further, or you start neglecting your strengths and you can end up sabotaging the business. And I've seen many entrepreneurs do that. So know your strengths, know your weaknesses. Knowing your profile will help you also understand the communication codes of family members if you're working with them, as well as your leadership team members once you start hiring people. And the rest I'm not going to go through because of time, but hopefully if you want more information, you can get the deck from Creative Zone and look at some of these other areas it can support you in. Let's get into the actual model. So there's 9 profiles I'm going to share with you. I'm going to share with you the name, other names that are very similar within the same cluster, and some of the ingredients of the profile. As I go through each one, what I'd like you to do as you're listening to me is ask yourself a few questions. Number 1, what Reg is sharing with me right now, this profile, has it been there in my entire life, yes or no? From the day I was born to what I did last night, is there a pattern where this thing has been there and I've been expressing it, yes or no? Does it come to me with ease, yes or no? When I'm doing it, does it feel good? Do I love it? Does it feel fulfilling? Am I happy? The opposite to all of those things may be, Reg, you know, if I was doing that every day for 6 months, I'd rather hang myself, joke, okay? I don't want to be doing that. That would be hugely frustrating. I would hate it. That would not give me fulfillment, happiness. It will not make me feel good. So just understanding that, you'll get an idea of maybe where some of your strengths and weaknesses could be. And just by listening to me, maybe we can get this up to 55 or 60% accuracy today as a gut feel. But if you want more information on how to be profiled properly, we can discuss that. So let's get stuck in. The first type of entrepreneur or founder of any business will be an innovator. And these people will find it very, very easy to start something. Okay, they're definitely the initiators. Other words for the innovator: creator, inventor, pioneer, visionary. These are the people who have their head right up in the clouds. Their feet do not touch the ground. They have a fast brain, constantly coming up with new things all of the time. They love starting things, not brilliant at finishing things. They can inspire people with great ideas, but they can confuse them just as quickly because they keep changing their mind. So if all you've got is an innovator, and you're one of these people right now starting a business, and you're wondering, why is it not moving to the next stage? Maybe because you're missing the next profile, okay, as well as the others that I'm going to go through. The next profile is what we call the planner profile. Other words are engineer, designer, improver. This is very much a left brain profile. Highly logical, everything has to be neat and tidy. They're OCD. I'm like that. You can see with my books behind me, everything has to be in a certain place, okay? Planners show up in one of 2 ways. Either the idea is given to them and they'll take the idea to the next stage and can get something up and running in a very systematic manner, or if something's already established, the planner can build new systems, processes, procedures, support strategy, make improvements, tweak things, help productivity, make people more efficient, help them become more organized. So these 2 people are really going to get on with each other, the innovator and the planner. Okay, these people are working really well. The problem is every time the planner works on something, the innovator will come up with another idea. So the next person that we need in our dream team, and as another potential founder starting a business, could be a promoter. A promoter is normally a larger-than-life character, someone who's very good with marketing, presenting, publicity, PR. This is someone, if you put them in a room, they love the limelight. They love the platform and the stage. They're very good in front of audiences. They know how to persuade and influence the masses. They can also be extreme. On one minute, they're extroverts on the platform. On the next, they could be introverts and just want to hide and don't talk to anybody. Okay, so this happens with a lot of people out there who've got great brands, who have got a face for that brand. Maybe they're promoter type profiles. Promoters are highly emotional, quite difficult to manage, and they have a fairly big ego. If they know how to use that ego in the right way, great. They can become powerful people in the public domain, and they will get their brand out there. If they don't know how to control their ego and their ego is controlling them, unfortunately, promoter profiles can get into a lot of trouble and they can become rebels. So moving on, next profile, connector profile. This person has the biggest heart. Okay, their heart is so huge. It's all about the connection. Pandemic is driving them nuts right now. These are people who want to socialize. They've probably been out before the pandemic 3-4 times a week, mingling with people, socializing with people. They're great at introducing one person to another. They're great at networking and building new contacts. They remember people's birthdays. They give people gifts on a regular basis. It's all about hanging out with people, and they care about people genuinely. So again, you've got someone on the right-hand side. The profiles on the right-hand side are very much heart-based. So now if you've got promoter, connector, maybe in one person, just giving you an example, you've got someone who's emotionally charged. Also can be highly sensitive as an example. Next profile that we have is the mentor. The mentor sits in the middle, likes to have this holistic view of all different aspects of the business. They love knowledge. They love training programs. They're loving this webinar right now, grabbing this information, writing it down. I can't wait to share it with someone. They love going on courses and different programs and reading their books. But they don't do it just for themselves. It's because they want to pass it on to other people. Mentors are very patient in developing others, advising them, coaching them, teaching them, counseling them. So that's really what they like doing. They're very good one-to-one and with groups of, on average, about 20 people. So give them different projects with different people where they can patiently develop them. They're at their peak state. The next person in our dream team is the operator. This is a person who loves execution and getting things done. They are masterful with delegation and execution. The bigger the problem, the more chaos, the more issues, the more they'll come to life and fix it. If you look at the opposite, of the operator, you've got planners and innovators. If you give an operator a startup, an empty shell, and say, off you go, they will scratch their head for a long time. So every time I come across operators who want to become entrepreneurs, they're stuck. They really don't know what to do. The reason why is because something has to get up and running first, and then that operator will come to life. In fact, if you're an entrepreneur at the top, like an innovator, planner, promoter right now, and you get your business up and running, I would suggest you hire an operator as soon as you can. That operator will eventually be your GM or COO, or even your CEO, especially if your profiles are at the top, allowing you to do what you do best, creating, looking at what's next, product development, building your brand, while you've got that person who loves the day-to-day operations of the business. Now, if you are that person, brilliant. You just got to find the ones at the top who can help you start it and get it up and running. We then get to the negotiator profile. This is all about Jerry Maguire. You know the film, about show me the money, that famous line, show me the money in Jerry Maguire. This is all about, this person doesn't care what happened last month, what's going to happen 3 months' time. It's all about 5 o'clock today. This person can be aggressive, a bit like the operator as well. They can be impatient. They're very fast with their numbers. They love financial transactions, buying something at the right price, selling something at the right price, making a profit, getting that contract signed. And they love bargaining with people, okay? So other words are closer, interrogator, trader, squeezer would be an extreme version of a negotiator. The great thing about these 7 people that I've just shared with you right now is you have got a dream team that will make money. You've got cash flow, the till is ringing, money is flowing in. Now, some of you listening today, you will have 2 or 3 of these profiles in you, okay? 2 or 3 of them may be strengths already. You may have learned some of those other things, and then you genuinely will have weaknesses in some of those areas. Before I start to sort of come to an end, the next 5-10 minutes I've got left, and then I know Lorenzo's going to come in, the team are looking at the chat, so make sure you get some questions in there, and then we'll open it up to how you can take this to the next level to build your business. One thing I always discuss with these 7 profiles is, let's say $1 million has come in. $1 million has come into your new business, and let's trickle up to the top. It goes to the innovator. The innovator is the founder, is the main decision maker in this business. What do you think he or she will do with the money? Drop it into the chat. Let me know what you think, okay? Most of the time, the innovator's already got bored and moved on to the next creative idea. Sometimes I've worked with innovator profiles where they're juggling 6, 7, maybe even 15 different ideas at a time. And yes, if they hit jackpot with one of them, fantastic. Return on investment will come in. But really, we've got high risk at play. Because if a lot of those things don't happen, and we've already got the first company, which is the cash cow, which is bought in the $1 million, we can end up sabotaging that business. What happens if the money comes in and goes to the planner, top left corner? What are they thinking about improvements, processes, and systems? We just implemented ERP 1.0, and the planner's already thinking about ERP 3.0. But yet 1.0 is not being used by everybody in the company. So we could overdo it with more processes, more systems, and spending money in that area. The money could come in and go to the promoter, top right corner. What will the promoter do with the money? What do you think? Well, in most cases, they want to create noise. They want to be loud. They want to be on the platform. They want to be visible. So they might end up buying a massive hot air balloon. Red would be the color. They'll get permission for the government, pay lots of money for it, and make sure it goes around the entire country with the logo on it. However, the promoter forgot to put the telephone number on it and built no call center. right? So we're not going to get any inquiries apart from everyone's going to know about it. It'll be on the news and it'll be in all the magazines. What if the money comes in and goes to the connector? Well, they may want to throw another party when they can. They want to create more social events. They want to give gifts to everybody, all the people that haven't actually bought our product yet. So we could end up spending too much money in that area as well if we don't have the right balance. Money comes in and goes to the mentor. Mentor wants to send people on the next training program, the next course, develop people. But what about the course that they went on 12 months ago? Have they implemented anything from that course? Yes or no? So again, we've got to have balance there. Money comes in and goes to the operator, who's the founder, the main decision maker. They love delegating to other people, so they end up hiring more and more people. But do we need them all? Because operators will only do what they need to do once or twice to show people, but apart from that, they'd rather just make sure they got the people around them and delegating and making sure things get done. And finally, the negotiator. If the money comes in and the negotiator is the founder, now what? Well, the negotiator will tell all of their employees, I want you to work every evening and on weekends, and I want to reduce your salary by 10%. Squeeze. They will only spend that money if there's a bargain, there's a reason to. So the point I'm trying to make here is to help you as entrepreneurs for the future. Doesn't matter where you are. Once that money starts to come in based on building your dream team, make sure that the next two profiles are involved before you make any financial decisions. So the next profile is the banker profile. The banker profile loves numbers with substance. So where the negotiator was really good on the surface with transactions, the banker likes financials or money with substance, counting things, checking things, investigating in detail, making sure they know exactly how much came in last week, the week before, last year, what came in today, what went out. They can tell you everything. They love their spreadsheets, they love their systems, and they'll use two calculators at the same time. But if you ask them, what should we do with the money for the future? They'll scratch their head and go, I don't know. So they can come across as cynical, sometimes negative, and they're not in their heart. It's just because that's the way that they think. But we need that information before the promoter goes and spends money, the innovator, the planner, the operator, any of the other profiles. We need that information so we know where we stand. And finally, as the money comes in, as we look into the future, let's say you are now 10, 100, maybe even $1 billion company one day. Once the wealth is there and the money is flowing in, you've got to make sure the investor is in your dream team. The investor is going to pull everyone back. The investor is the slowest in making decisions out of the 9 profiles. But the investor loves research, loves assessing things, gathering data, protecting them and everybody else. They will end up putting a reserve fund together. They will make sure before the next crazy idea the innovator gets into, there's already some money put aside. And that money is there for the long term. So these are the 9 profiles that we all need to be aware of. This is a very brief session today to educate you. You can get more information. There's some stuff at the end I'll share with you to get some more information. But for today, be aware, what's your gut feel on where the top 1 or 2 profiles could be out of the 9, where you know if I was doing that every day for 6 months or a year, Reg, that's easy for me, and I would have the vibration of fulfillment, happiness. I'll feel good about what I do. And what are your bottom 2 possibly? What are the 2 that if you were forced to do that every day, you would hate it? You'd be frustrated. Reg, get me out of here. That's not what I want to be doing. And it's very important that you understand this, because as you build your businesses, you need to start identifying the right people where you've got all these gaps filled. Biggest mistake entrepreneurs make when they're hiring people is they hire people that they like and end up hiring people who are similar to themselves. The 7 founders of PayPal all became billionaires, and it's documented in the research and one of the books that was published on that brand. They were all completely different. They didn't need to like each other, but they had similar values and respected each other, but they all brought something different and unique to the table, where some of them then went on to build their second $1 billion company after that, such as LinkedIn and YouTube and many others. So you don't have to have people that are similar to you, and you don't have to like them. Is that okay? There have to be opposites. For example, I'm an innovator, I'm a planner profile, but if I take my wife, she's more of an investment banker type profile. Then we've got other family members on the right-hand side. But for many years, I struggled even with my own wife. When I present ideas to her, and she'll go, no, that won't work. Where's the information? Where's the data? I used to get frustrated to a point where I thought, what's the point of even sharing these ideas with her? And equally, she was thinking, why is he not sharing ideas with me now? The dream team came together when I was very good at growing the business, making sure that money was coming in, revenues increasing, but I would not be good at managing it. As those things started to happen, I needed to pass it on to my wife. Being the director of finance and part of our family office, she would give me a little bit back. Okay, I can then experiment with that and incubate whatever I want to do next as another product or another service or an investment. And again, she would have the rest to focus on property and maybe other things that we want to do as a family. I hope that's making sense. Okay, so I joke about it, and she knows this, where for many years I used to silently call her the dream killer. You know, I was always sleeping with the enemy, because the reality is we're yin and yang, we're black and white, we're opposites, but we need each other. That's what makes it work. So let me start wrapping up. Here's just a quick example of 3 different people. You've got the one in the green, the one in the yellow, one in the red. Which one would be a great CEO for your business? What do you think? Well, if you look at the one in the green, let's assume that these were the top 3 profiles for this person as strengths. We've got planner, innovator, investor. This person really is more of an introvert. They need to be working more on projects. They'll be good for helping a startup situation. They're good with strategy. They're good with improving systems and processes. And they can also get involved in research and look at where we should invest money for the future. That, for me, is not going to be the ideal CEO. If you look at the one in yellow, that's a good fit, even though you could have a combination of some other profiles as well. But we've got planner, connector, operator. We've got someone who can be systematic with process systems, which is great. We've got someone who's great with relationships. We need that internally with employees. We need that externally with suppliers, distributors, customers, and so on. And we've also got the operator, where the person's going to fix things or delegate to other people and execute, more importantly, get things done. Now, that combination could be different. If we really want to grow the brand, maybe we need more of a promoter and an operator, maybe with a bit of innovator. Maybe if we're looking more stability, we're looking for more of a connector, operator, negotiator, okay? And because we want to really increase revenue, we see we've got a gap there. Maybe we just need to protect ourselves. So we're looking at the bottom, and we need more execution with an operator, negotiator, banker. So there's different profiles you can have depending on the cycle your business is in. You need a different mix for basically startup. You need a different mix for fast growth. You need a different mix for maturity. You need a different blend and dream team when it comes to turning around a business if it's bleeding, to create a regeneration path. Then you've got the one in red, which is the rebel. Promoter, negotiator profile, very hard to manage, great at persuading and influencing people. As long as they've got the right values and they understand how their ego operates, this person could be a great addition to your dream team to make sure that revenue increases. But it's not the person that you want working in the office. They need to be out and about, external, and they need people around them who can support them when they make their connections or when they speak or build a brand. So I'm just giving you different scenarios here. Once you start blending the profiles, then you get to the advanced version of the profiling. And eventually, once you start profiling different people in the team, this is just a mock-up, you get to a stage where we may end up with different people in that team. This could be your team if you're a startup in a year's time, 2 years' time, and we're looking at where their strengths and weaknesses are as a team. We've done this with 128 family businesses around the world the last 19 years, to do it with the entire family and leadership team, to see where the strengths and weaknesses as a team. So in this example, if they were one company and one group of people, we're very good at improving systems, we're very good with innovation for new products and services, we're really good with execution. This is a good team. We're getting good results. But when it comes to the till ringing, the right gross profit, we're weak as a negotiator profile. When it comes to managing the finances properly before we make any other decisions, we're weak. And when it comes to PR, our competition are killing us. They are more visible than us in the marketplace. This team tends to shy away from that promoter part overall. So that's just an example. So make sure all DNA profile areas are covered. Link the talent that somebody else has their profile to the business needs, depending on what cycle you're in right now. Assess the dynamics. So for example, if you've got 2 promoters, you don't want them working with each other. Create separate areas for both of them. Otherwise, you're going to end up with conflict, just as one example. Make sure that you've got people with the right energy and also they share your values. DNA profiling on its own is not going to give you magical results unless you also have some commonality with your values, whatever they may be. So on that note, in summary, we need, the last question I've got here for you, and then maybe hand it back to our host and moderator, Lorenzo, is, what's the right path for you? I've given you 9 potential paths, okay, to unleash your DNA. What is your 1 or 2 top profiles? And what's the path you should take? And where's the biggest gaps right now where you should look for that person? Whether it's a business partner, as a working partner, whether it's as an investor, whether it's a family member, or whether you want to get it up and running yourself. And once you've got some more money, maybe that would be your first hire. To wrap up, these are our company brands: RTS Global Partners, which is our group company, work with entrepreneurs and family businesses. We've got our academy with various programs, and you've got my personal brand. You can go and check out our YouTube channel, LinkedIn channel, where we create content. And if you want to know more about DNA profiling and you want to Zoom with me, there's my details. And on that note, we're going to get into some Q&A, more discussions with our host. Over to you, Lorenzo.
Thank you so much for that, Reg. That was sincerely a great presentation on the topic. I can see a lot of very good questions are coming through. We're seeing very good feedback. That was very impressive, Reg. We thank you for that. And maybe a few things that I can start reading from the audience. I have some thoughts myself that I'm thinking a lot of our startups and entrepreneurs, I'm sure, are thinking similar things, which is, for example, number 1 that comes to mind: how do you go about selecting those profiles? How do you read these people in the process of building that dream team? Is it something that you're able to profile them after a few sets of interviews? Do we need to test these people? How do we go about making sure that we say,
yeah, good question.
Connector,
Yeah, see, there's a basic and an advanced version to that, Lorenzo. The advanced version is what we've been doing for many years with our clients. So that does take a bit of time. And having done thousands of them, we see patterns, okay? But if someone was doing the basic version, they can reach out to our company. They can start off with maybe a self-assessment, okay, with some basic questions. But the real tip I want to give the entrepreneurs listening today, and I learned this from a mentor of mine in my 20s, is whoever you're thinking about hiring or considering to bring into the business, be patient. Spend as much time as you can with them in different environments. Okay. When you're interviewing someone, it's not true personality. Okay. If you meet someone for an hour or 2 hours and that's all you see, you can make a judgment. And if you like them, if they impressed you with the right words and had the right eye contact or shook hands with you the right way or were dressed in the right way, our emotional triggers are going, yeah, this, I like her, I like him. Yeah, wow, they could be a good addition for my company. But in reality, you know nothing about that person. All you're seeing is what's on the outside, and many people wear masks. So on the inside, one tip for everybody would be to see someone in different environments. It's okay to put someone under pressure. It's okay to give someone a trial, maybe. It's okay to meet someone during lunch and dinner. Have someone meet your team in a different environment. Maybe get them to deliver a presentation, okay? Get them doing different things, and you start to see the true colors of someone start to shine through. That's number 1. Number 2 would be asking the right questions. So if we want to know about someone's profile, we need to dig into their past. As another mentor said to me 25 years ago, a pattern of past behavior is a good predictor for future behavior and results. If you can see what someone's done in the last 5 years with depth and go into their childhood and see what some of the things that they were doing, that will give you clues into what the future pattern actually looks like. So I'm just giving a few tips, but these would be some basic things to look out for. And then once you get the description, you can get the slide deck. And if you reach out to my company, it will send you some of the descriptions. And maybe you can start playing around with that with the basic level with the people around you. Okay, so those are a few things to consider, Lorenzo.
Excellent. Well, other questions that said, let's say you've got your typical entrepreneur, maybe the innovator. This is the guy that has the ideas, that has the dreams, and is able to get it started. What are the initial first profiles that he needs to surround himself with in order to execute successfully a startup?
Yeah, so an innovator will obviously come up with all of the ideas, okay? As I went through the sequence of how I described the profiles, I do that for a reason, because it's almost like the journey of a business, okay? So with the way I did the profile, so a planner would be great with an innovator, okay, then definitely a promoter. And between these three, they could definitely incubate the business, Lorenzo, okay? They may not have a successful business at this stage, but they'll be able to incubate it. Why is this important? Because when you're incubating a business, you start getting feedback. You realize if the product works, doesn't work. Is this what people need in the marketplace? You start testing things out. But if the innovator ends up going to a banker or an investor profile too early in their entrepreneurial journey, guess what's going to happen? Nothing, right? The business is never going to take off because people have overanalyzed it, put too many numbers into it, got too many spreadsheets floating around. Everybody wants to see a business plan, and it's never going to take off. What you need is incubation phase. So I think those are the three I would definitely look for. The innovator, planner, promoter would be really good people. If you don't have that yourself, go and find people that you could partner with or who can support you in that area. Then the rest will come after.
Now, how do you go about attracting the best talent that fits this kind of profiles?
Yeah, again, I can't give you one answer to that. I think, you know, here, I'll give you one good tip. Never stop looking for talent. You don't hire someone, you go, oh, yeah, I need that salesperson, I need that HR person, I need that marketing person. I've hired them. Wow, my job is done. My business is going to be successful now. If great entrepreneurs and some of the best owners I've met in the world, you know, multimillionaires and billionaires, these guys are sniffing for talent all the time. You know, they could be in a restaurant and the waiter or waitress who serves them with great customer service, okay, that person goes, you know what, I'm going to headhunt this person. So what they're looking for is the DNA profile is one thing, okay? That's only half of the equation. The other half is energy. Energy. If you could find someone who's prepared to work hard, teachable, has got a great attitude, maybe has looked after their family from a young age, had some good achievements from a young, went through adversity or failure, made some huge mistakes and bounced back early on in their life. Wow, I'd take that person every day. Okay, now I've got that person, I need to now find out what their profile is and put them in a role where they can start doing well and give me a return on investment. But I want the energy. Okay, you could have people who are geniuses, people who are great with coming up with ideas as innovators, but does it mean they're successful? No, because they have no resilience, no determination, they're not prepared to put the work in. So energy for me is really, really important. Do they have it or not? And keep looking for people who have that. Because in the world with 8 billion people, I would estimate there's at least 17% of the world's population that are what I call B players. B players. These are good people. These are the people on the bench. If you mentor them and coach them, they'll start giving you results eventually. But I don't want the 80%. The 80% are the C players. And the 3% club is the A players. Okay, so we should constantly be looking for our Bs. They're good people to have, but don't hire the Cs. Anyone who's negative, moaning and groaning, their career may have done that to begin with, and it's been like that for the last 5-10 years. Well, they did that, and every career they've had after that is down, 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 down. That's not the person I want to hire.
Do you tend to hire people that you see potential in and work with them to turn them into where you want them to be? Or you try to get to the guy that is fully ready, is molded into what you're looking today in their role?
Brilliant, excellent question. Love your questions. You know, again, it depends on the cycle of the business, Lorenzo, and what type of business you're in. So for example, if there's a lot of entrepreneurs who are very, very good at building businesses from startup up to about $5 million a year. Many businesses get to that in that range. Most of the entrepreneurial family businesses around the world are actually in that range. Okay, very few then go from that 5 million to the next stage, 30, 40, up to $50 million type range. Why is that? So the reason why is because you need a completely different type of person who's going to be leading that company. Yeah. So if you're going to now bet on potential only, you got to be careful, okay? Because the question would be, how long are you prepared to give it? If you're saying we want to go from $5 million and you know, double our business within a short space of time and double again, you better hire someone who's got the experience and has got the right profile and fit, because that person can anticipate the problems and challenges that are going to come up because they've been there before. But if you're someone who's going, you know what, I'm not running a race here. This is a marathon, okay? And I'm happy to achieve success over 10 or 15 years for my company, then I would say hiring someone with potential could be a great idea. And that person could grow with you. Yeah. Hope that answers your questions. There's two different ways of looking at it.
No, definitely. Another thing that comes to mind, and I'm reading it here on the Q&A, it says, how do we keep these type of profiles motivated? And what happens when you lose motivation from some of these top individuals? Maybe you lose some of them and they want to move on to other projects.
Yeah, so that's good. So, I've got a different presentation that I do where I talk about emotional blockages and human needs. Okay. So the first thing, as good leaders, mentors, the people that we've got around them, we need to understand, first of all, what are their aspirations and goals? Okay, what are their aspirations and goals? Number one. Number two, what are their human needs? See, some people are motivated by significance, by money, wealth creation. Okay. And also they could even look at the founder and go, if he or she can do it, I want to be able to do that. Okay, so you could have someone who's also highly entrepreneurial that you've hired, and over time thinks, I've reached my limit within the company. I want to be the entrepreneur. Okay, so if you know that in advance, why not create a structure where if that person has bags of potential, energy, great talent, has got you great results the last 7, 8, 9, 10 years, why not create like Google did, went from Google Inc. to having Google Ventures, okay? And take some of your A players and invest with them. Invest with them. And you can still end up retaining that talent. So that's one thing. Then there's other people, Lorenzo, on the complete opposite side. They're not motivated by money. My sister's a really good example. She's a social entrepreneur. She has an edutech company in the UK right now with a software for young children, which is being used by 1,600 schools right now around the world. She's got private equity VC funding. I'm sure the company will grow into being a unicorn at some stage, but it's not about the money. She's driven by the impact that she's making to children. So if the making the difference and contribution is there within the company, and that's what somebody wants, you'll retain them. But if you're no longer making a difference or giving contribution, and even though the person's earning a great paycheck and they got promoted within the same company, they're no longer fulfilled. They're thinking, I don't want to be here because I'm not making a difference anymore. Then there's others who are thinking, I've learned everything from my boss. I can't learn anything new. I need to go and find someone else I can work with, or I can keep learning something because I love learning. And they've reached a limit now where they can't learn anything else from their boss. In fact, they become better than their boss. So I hope that helps, but there's a long list I have. If anybody wants to reach out to me, I can share them a little bit more about those blockages that you need to overcome and also the human needs that need to be met for every individual in your dream team.
100%. And I will encourage everybody, we will share Reg's contact details, his email, phone number, his websites, where to find him, so that you can get in touch with him, ask other questions, or he can share other potential things that he could do with you and your company, and how he can support you and your company in building that dream team. I'm going to just take a few more minutes to read some of the questions that we're getting. It says, hi Reg, I'm a mentor at heart, and I have a challenge, never have been able to find a good salesperson for the company. What do you suggest?
Well, again, it goes back to the earlier question you asked me, where are we looking? Yeah, where do the best salespeople hang out right now? Okay, well, we know that in the pandemic, there's certain industries where they had great salespeople, but those people are now not employed right now, or those businesses are not doing well. Let's take the real estate industry, okay? Let's take the events conferencing industry, okay? Hospitality industry with someone who was working maybe in the sales office, marketing office. So we've got to start thinking about what are the industries right now, if you're looking for that person this year, or by the end of this year, what are the industries that have suffered the most, that had sales departments, And that would be a place to go and look for. Maybe you could go onto LinkedIn and do a search for people that fit within that criteria. Okay, sales, real estate, sales, hospitality, sales, hotel, okay, sales, whatever. Look for those people first and start connecting with them directly. And say, look, you're potentially looking for people right now. You want to start a relationship and get to know them, and you'll be surprised how much good talent is available out there right now. Some really great talent, okay, and not as expensive as it used to be, okay? So you can also get someone at the right salary type level, which is good. And start building relationships with 10, 15 of these people. Start testing them in different ways. If they're unemployed right now, maybe you could pay them a small amount for a trial, okay, and at least do a very short trial to test them out with a few things. So these would be some recommendations if you want to get proactively looking for good salespeople.
Excellent, excellent. Another few good questions. It says, partnerships are common in the entrepreneurial space right now. What do you think should be the key considerations for this?
For partnerships, yeah, most partnerships don't work. Yeah. I've got a case study, a few years ago. I was working with a family business in India, and very, very large company that invested in over 50 businesses, 50 companies in the portfolio. And the majority were with partnerships. So we ended up going through an exercise of looking at every single one of their businesses and writing down, I had a criteria I gave them, which is, okay, do you have a working partner? Are you the one running the business, or are they running the business? Is it equal? Who's doing the work? Okay, right, let's understand. Number two, how are decisions being made? Are you measuring their performance? Are you having regular board meetings with them? Do you have a proper shareholders agreement in case somebody wants to exit, or you end up with a conflict in the future? What happens? Is there an aligned strategy? Do you know what they want? Do they know what you want? There's a whole bunch of questions I asked. By the end of it, we realized, Lorenzo, almost 90% of their partnerships were no good. And yet they were thinking, yeah, it's all about partnerships. So I would say, any of you who are thinking about partnerships, and I went through this in my 20s, where I had a partnership with someone where things were going well at the beginning, and then when things were going really well and we weren't really communicating much because we were both busy within the business with different roles, and we weren't keeping an eye on the money, it ended up with conflict. Okay, so really assess your partners in the right way from day one. Have good contracts, a good partnership agreement or a partnership constitution, a good shareholders agreement. Make sure you have regular communication and proper governance in place, of formal meetings every month. They should be able to keep you accountable. You've also got to keep them accountable. And most importantly, if anybody wants to exit, you're very, very clear on what that exit process is. Because when at the beginning, it's all lovely. We love each other. It's all great. Yes. But when things go wrong, that's when the real fireworks start. So make sure you talk about those what if scenarios at the beginning.
Excellent, Reg. Well, we're getting to the end of the webinar. We have another 4 or 5 minutes left, maybe a couple of final questions, and then maybe your final conclusion or your final message to the people attending this webinar. Another question that comes to mind, and I'm reading it through the Q&A here, it says, have you seen a tendency that applies throughout some of the most successful startups around the world? Has anybody gone out and say, well, these 50 successful startups, they all had this type of DNAs that they were applied and they were brought into the team at an early stage, and that's why they were successful? Has this been done?
Yeah, I mean, they're probably in some of the books behind me, and people can reach out to me and I'll send them some links or ebooks that I may have on file. But look, my research over 19 years has been with a lot of family businesses, okay? Businesses have created legacies, okay? Because you could be an entrepreneur today, build a business, and you're no longer doing that in 20 years time, 30 years time. But when you've got family businesses that have been around for 5, 6, 7, even 12 generations, that's a true business for me. It's outlived the founder. It's outlived multiple generations. So that compared to other entrepreneurs, whether you take Google, whether you take Apple, you take any of the big brands, okay, whether you take Jeff Bezos at Amazon, these are all good examples where they weren't successful on their own. Yeah. If you really look at the research and look at the board of directors and who was involved in the first couple of years, they ended up building a dream team. If you take Larry Page and Sergey, from Google, That's what a great partnership. Two people, you know, and then the first person who gave them a check for angel funding also became part of the dream team. When they both realized they weren't really good CEOs, guess what? They hired Eric. Eric became their CEO. That guy eventually became their chairman. Okay, so everybody goes through this. Bill Gates is another good example. Did everything he could eventually to a point where he knew he needed to be focused on ideas when it comes to being a chairman, or somebody else does the day-to-day and grows the business. And since then, that succession has happened twice with somebody else now who's the head of Microsoft. So I think, you know, these things, there's enough examples out there, if you look for them, where no entrepreneur has done it on their own. We always hear the founder's name and see the brand, but you've got to look behind that. Where is the actual team behind them? There's a question that came up as well, Lorenzo, a really good one I just saw. You know, this is typical for a lot of entrepreneurs. What if you're on your own and can't hire these people? Yeah, I don't know if you saw that came out, and it says, what if you got cash flow issues or you can't pay them? You got to get creative. That's all I can say. All right, you got to get creative. You've got to outsource. There's websites now where you can use remote workers on a pay-as-you-go basis, so you could work smart, or you could look to bring in a partner on an equity basis. Okay? You can't say, look, I can't hire anyone, I can't afford to, and I don't want to give up any equity. Wake up. All right, you can't have it all. Something has to give. So maybe if you've got a great proposition, you could bring in someone else to be a partner. Okay, and maybe with a vested period of time of 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, maximum 5 years, they start getting certain amount of equity on a yearly basis. They may not need to be full-time. Maybe they're part-time people, but they got the contacts. They've got a good brand themselves. They can open doors for you. So one has to become creative if you can't afford to hire people from day one.
Excellent. Well, Reg, I mean, to all the attendees out there, a bit of the reason why we're doing this webinar today is because we've done this exercise internally ourselves at Creative Zone. And we've taken so much out of this, especially to understand and analyze what are the resources that we have in the different places. And I think as a startup and as an entrepreneur, it's so crucial for you to understand what are the next places that you need to fill in and what are the requirements that you need for these individuals and what DNAs they should have within them to take your startup and your project to the next level. Reg, there is immense value in this 1 hour that we spent here. There's hundreds of questions coming in. I invite everybody to take this conversation online on our group chat. We're going to share the details of Reg. Please feel free to communicate with him through LinkedIn as well. Reach out to him if you would like to learn more, especially if you want to hire him and get him to work with him in helping you develop your startup, hiring the right talent and the right people. There you can take a screenshot of this as well, and we're going to be sharing this as well on the email. We're going to send the link to the entire webinar. Reg, what would be your final comments for this session?
My final comments would be slightly different spin with work with the next generation. There's no such thing as a bad person. Okay, nobody was born bad. All right. Okay, everyone was born with this potential. You know, every baby that you see, apart from crying, wanting food or wanting its nappy change, ultimately is full of joy. Okay, is full of confidence. Unfortunately, the confidence gets sucked out of most of them by the time they're teenagers, whether it's to do with parents or society, conditioning, whatever. But that person always had something in them to be successful. Unfortunately, most people don't discover what they're good at until they hit the age between 45 and 55 years of age, which is very sad. Imagine waking up, you're 50 years of age, you know, you're in bed, it's a Saturday morning, the sun's coming through, you turn around to your husband or your wife and go, you know what, I think I now know what I'm good at, darling. Imagine that. And in that moment, what do? Most people take one step out of bed and go, yeah, I should go for it. Then they get back into bed because it's more comfortable. And I might as well carry on doing what I've learned all of these years because I don't want to take the risk of following my real dream and my passion and what I'm good at. So my tip would be for those who got kids or next generation, even if you are in your 50s, it doesn't matter, is experiment. If you don't know what you're good at right now, find as many things in a short space of time that you can do. Even if you're helping people for free, okay? for free, part-time, community work, helping someone with their business part-time, until you can experiment and find out what you're good at. Don't leave it till later on in life. What's the point? We're here to find out our talent, use it, and be happy. Okay, and get out of bed every morning going, I love what I do. So that's it on that note. If you've got young kids, help them unleash their DNA and find out what they're good at from a young age.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Reg. And I don't know, a little final comment for me. One thing that I've seen some very successful people do very well, that they're very good as well as finding that sometimes they got the wrong people in the wrong places. And they're very fast at pulling the plug, and they don't hesitate at making the call, making the decision, and making that change. Many times we get dragged into delaying these things, and this ends up hurting us as a business, right?
It happens a lot, and it goes back to the conversation we had earlier, which is if you see the potential and know what they're good at, and an owner takes the time to realize that with the people they have, long as the energy's there. Okay, if the energy is there, the person's hardworking, they're prepared to learn, they've got a good attitude, they support their family, you can see they've had past successes in their life, then all you got to do is, the word would be redeploy. Redeploy them and unleash their DNA. But if they're negative, if the attitude is negative, they need to be motivated all the time. The energy is minus, minus, minus. Forget it. It doesn't matter what the talent is, that person's going to drag you down. Okay, what's the point? Send them off. Okay, rather than being on your payroll, they can go on someone else's payroll, ideally your competition, all right? And they could spend the next 10, 20 years discovering eventually what they're good at, and then they can come back to you, all right? But we're not paying for their development. We need, as a company, as an owner, we need a return on investment.
Exactly.
Yeah, unless you're running a charity.
Exactly.
And even then, you've got to do fundraising.
Great, Reg, thank you so much. Thank you so much to all attendees. It's been a great session. We'll be in touch. We'll send you the emails. You got Reg's details. Let's keep up the conversation. Reg, thank you so much for
Thank you all. Thank you all. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.